See The World of Thedas Volume 1, Chapter 2, Races, the Dwarves. Summary of Audiobook. Part 6 of this series will explore Thedas' underground and examine what makes the Children of the Stone so resilient. Dwarves are a race of stocky, robust builders who live in underground communities called Thegs. Their once strong numbers have been diminished by ages of war with the Darkspawn. Most Thegs are now empty, and the vast network of tunnels known as the deep roads that connected the Thegs are mostly sealed and overrun with the Darkspawn, even in the absence of a blight. The dwarves now primarily inhabit two Thegs, Orzammar and Kal Sharok. Others live in exile on the surface. Appearance and physical attributes. The Children of the Stone are a stout race, both shorter and broader than most humans. They also tend to have a stronger constitution. Sickness is almost unknown among dwarves. However, their proximity to the Darkspawn takes its toll on the population. Those who survive encounters on the deep roads often suffer from corruption-caused infertility. The result is an ever-dwindling dwarven population that is small by surface standards. Living underground, the dwarves have superior vision in the dark. Their rocky surroundings also give the dwarves another unique quality. The walls of many caves are laced with lyrium, a mineral source of magic in Thedas. Living in close proximity to lyrium for so long, the dwarves have developed a natural immunity to magic. The downside is that this exposure also makes it impossible for dwarves to wield magic. Dwarves who live on the surface will lose their protective immunity over time. Despite this, no known dwarf, surface or otherwise, has managed to wield magic. History. Before the Blights, there were dozens of Thegs, each with a healthy number of inhabitants. Though each Theg enjoyed autonomy, the race was largely united and kept a proper capital, first in Kal Sharok, and later in Orzammar. Their world beneath the world was all but destroyed by the first Blight. The Darkspawn attacked the dwarves first, using the deep roads to systematically sack dozens of Thegs. As the Thegs fell, the Darkspawn spread underneath Thedas and eventually reached all ends of the continent. Several dwarven kingdoms were destroyed completely. However, the four largest, Orzammar, Kal Sharok, Hormak, and Gundar, survived by working together in sealing off key roads. After more than 100 years, the Grey Wardens slayed the archdemon that spared the Blight and drove the remaining Darkspawn back underground. For surfacers, the generations-long battle was over, but the Blight continued for the dwarves. In -15 Ancient, the dwarves of Orzammar sealed the last of the deep roads leading into their kingdom. The old capital of Kal Sharok was assumed lost, along with Hormak and Gundar. Culture. To discuss the culture of today's dwarf is to look at the dwarves of Orzammar, as there is no other place where dwarves exist in such significant numbers. The other major centre, the recently rediscovered Kal Sharok, evolved in isolation, and the cultural effect of so many ages apart from their brethren is still largely unknown. Among Orzammar dwarves, single-mindedness is both a signature strength and weakness. Their ability to dedicate themselves to a cause has allowed them to survive in conditions that would kill any other race and has given rise to a level of technology that far surpasses anything else in Thedas. Examples of this ingenuity include dwarven clockwork, mechanical weaponry, and steam power. Orzammar society is divided into rigid castes of nobles, warriors, smiths, artisans, miners, merchants, servants, and surfacers. A dwarf is born into a societal role. Only those born to smith caste parents may become blacksmiths, and a servant who marries a noble woman will never be a noble himself. His daughters will be nobles, and his sons servants, for daughters inherit the caste of their mother, while sons inherit the caste of their father. The caste system in Orzammar includes many groups of privilege. Gina TV once wrote, "Nobility and warriors are above all others. Merchants, smiths, artisans, and miners are of slightly less nobility, but are still considered upper class. The servant caste is lower, and there is also an underclass of casteless. These descendants of criminals and other undesirables have their faces branded to mark their rock-bottom status in dwarven society. casteless dwarves are denied the right to work any honest job. Instead, they are forced to eke out meagre livings as beggars or worse, simply to survive. The dwarves we know on the surface are also considered casteless once they leave Orzammar, Gina TV observed, although this is only relevant to those who return if they are allowed to return at all. Many surface dwarves become members of the Merchants Guild, a powerful union that trades dwarven goods with surfacers. Shaperit. The memories tell us that our kingdom once reached far beneath the mountains, and that the Thags were almost beyond counting. Shaper Chabor. The Order of the Shapers is dedicated to preserving the history and knowledge of the dwarves. There are 3 kinds of Shapers. The most prominent is the Shaper out of memory. Based in the noble quarter of Orzammar, its main purpose is to record and keep the essential records known as memories. There is also the Shaper out of stone, which keeps mundane records of work and marriage, and the Shaper out of golems, which is largely defunct. Shapers are encouraged to travel the deep roads and seek out long-buried historical truths, making the job far more dangerous than that of the average librarian or bookkeeper. The Shaper must step away from the familiar to seek out revelations from the frontier or from buried secrets of paths abandoned, states the Shaper's life, a widely read authority on the Order. The Shaper must first walk away if he is to return. Legion of the Dead. The Legion of the Dead is a famous dwarven military unit that is both celebrated and shunned. Many convicted criminals join the Legion rather than face exile or the loss of their caste. Dwarves who are already casteless also join, hoping that it will impart some respectability to their family names. Once in the Legion, all records of a dwarf's past crimes are erased. The members descend into the deep roads to battle Darkspawn together until death. When they join, Legion dwarves are given a ritual akin to a funeral. Indeed, members are treated by dwarven society as if they are dead. They are assumed to spend their remaining days living up to their promise. There is no retirement from the Legion, only an honourable death in the deep roads. It isn't unheard of for a noble to willingly join the Legion, but it is exceptionally rare. Thags. Numerous Thags once existed, built under every major mountain range and connected by the deep roads. Only Orzammar and Kal Sharok survived ages of blights. Orzammar rests in the frost-backed mountains, which create a natural border between Orly and the western outreaches of Ferelden. It is a huge, underground metropolis of more than 100,000 dwarves. The Thag's layout is determined by its strict caste system. The King's Palace and Assembly Halls sit highest, in a tier known as the Diamond Quarter, which is also home to the Shaperit. A complicated system of stairs and passages cut down from the Diamond Quarter, through the noble areas, to the commons, and finally to the casteless slums of Dust Town. The dwarven merchant caste has the most influence in the commons, where the many works of Orzammar's craftsmen are bought and sold. Connected are the Proving Grounds, an ancient venue for the public settling of dwarven disputes. The commons is also where visitors to Orzammar spend most of their time, it being the Thag's centre for trade. Below the Proving Grounds is the broken down the Dust Town. It is a haven for crime, organised and otherwise, Gina TV wrote of this dwarven slum. Orzammar's guards cannot be bothered to patrol its streets. Many in Dust Town turn to drink, specifically the toxic like an ale so common in the quarter. Kal Sharok. Nestled beneath the Hunter Horn Mountains, the kingdom of Kal Sharok was once the capital of the Dwarven Empire. Its close proximity to the Tevinter capital of Minrus led to a strong bond with the Imperium, contributing to the military and infrastructure of the burgeoning human nation. As humanity's influence spread and the Imperium weakened, the Dwarven capital was moved to the southern Thag of Orzammar. This was the first of many blows to the dwarves of Kal Sharok. When the blight struck, they were among the hardest hit. A robust people, they survived only to be eventually abandoned by Orzammar, whose leaders saw it in their best interest to abandon Kal Sharok in the interest of self-preservation. Early in the Dragon Age, Kal Sharok was rediscovered. Residents of the former capital had subsisted for ages in complete isolation. King Endrinadukin, then the respected king of Orzammar, was the one credited with restoring contact. Relations between the toothaches have since been tense at best, with Cal Sharrock's leadership yet to publicly forgive Orzammar for its actions. Generations of isolation mean that dwarves from Cal Sharrock don't share the relatively recent cultural influences of Orzammar's extended interactions with the surface. The toothaches share the same base language, but Cal Sharrock has a regional dialect that draws more on an older manner of speech, less influenced by the surface. Cal Sharrock does not place the same emphasis on castes, and members of its assembly can come from any family. It also doesn't recognize the King of Orzammar in any official capacity. Cal Sharrock dwarves still honor ancestors called paragons, but they do not recognize the paragons of Orzammar, just as Orzammar does not recognize theirs. The dwarves of Cal Sharrock have been slow to let outsiders in. Scholars are only now beginning to understand what they had to do to survive so many ages in isolation. Forgotten Theags. Dozens of Theags were destroyed during the Blights. In the ages since, much of the history that survived in other Theags has been lost. Some Theags, like Cal, Rosh and Varen, are barely remembered, even their locations are unknown. Others, like Hordan and Kardash, have been uncovered and explored. The roots of many dwarves in Orzammar can be traced back to houses in lost Theags. For these houses, and the Shaperit that struggles to keep their records, it is considered a great discovery to learn the names and fate of a lost Theags people. Dwarven concepts. While it is exceptionally rare for dwarves not to be fluent in the common tongue, they use many words and phrases unique to their people. Some of these words have roots in the language spoken before the dwarves made contact with humans or elves. Dwarven term, and its common tongue translation: I'm Garak, victory. I'm Gforn, sacrifice. I'm Gtoli, duty. Cloud gazer, surface dwarves who have lost their stone sense. Duster, a derogatory term for a castless dwarf. Isana, lyrium, also called singing stone. Kalig, war. Salroka, a friend. Literally, one at my side. Top side, the surface. Women wham. Whine and plead. End of chapter 2, part 6. Next audiobook in this series is part 7, and will review what is known of the horned giants, known as Gwynari. In addition to this, a chapter 2 bonus content audiobook is also available. It contains additional excerpts and details important events in Thedas timeline, as listed along the page bottoms of chapter 2.